Welcome to the B-List, where we talk about everything we love to hate
and everything that we hate to love.
I'm Tara.
I'm Courtney. And guess what?
What?
Witches they're trendy again.
Witches.
Witches.
Witches?
Which?
Which?
All the witches.
Well, that's a sandwich place, so.
Which? It's not bad either, is it?
It's not bad, but we're not talking about sandwiches
We're not
today.
talking about that today. We talk about sandwiches all the rest of the week.
That's another podcast.
No, back in, I guess it was like February or March, I was cruising around on YouTube getting my news, my daily news, since I don't ever watch like live TV anymore. And I noticed that witchcraft has made a resurgence among the religious crowd. And some of our viewers and listeners may be already familiar with a pastor out of Tennessee. And his name is Greg Locke. And he claimed earlier this year that he had witches in his congregation. And I'll play that clip for you right now.
We got first and last names of 6 witches that are in our church. And you know what's strange? 3 of you are in this room right now. Three of you in the room right now. You better look in my eyeballs. We ain't afraid of you, you stinking witch. You devil-worshiping Satanist witch. We cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ. We break your spells. We break your curse. We got your first name. We got your last name. We even got an address for one of you. You so much as cough wrong, and I'll expose you in front of everybody in this tent, you stinking witch. You were sent to this church to destroy us. You were sent to this church to lure us in. You were sent to this church to cast spell. Listen, some of you been sick because you befriended that witch. 2 of you in my wife's ladies Bible study, and you know who you are, and we gonna ask you to get out, or I'll expose you in front of everybody. We got all 6 of their names. All 6 of them. 2 of them had already been confirmed before that thing ever even said it. First and last name. This chick is new to our church and don't know none of you. So you got a choice. You can leave with your spells all by yourself. Or I'll show up next Sunday with a stage full of brooms. And I'll give you one and I'll fly your tail up out of this place in the name of Jesus. But we ain't playing your spell casting, witchcraft, nonsense, sage burning games. Everybody okay? The witches are like, nope. And your little dog, too. You're out, witch.
Yeah, he claims that there are 6 witches in his congregation.
2 in his wife's...
2 in his wife's Bible study.
In his wife's Bible study. 3 in this room now.
Yeah. And then a couple weeks ago, I was watching, for God knows why, I was watching the Mike Lindell symposium. I forget what it was called. But yeah, he, in the opening prayer, the woman pastor or whatever was also rebuking witchcraft in that, because I guess witchcraft, faked the election or whatever.
Yes.
And so we all know that's true.
God, I just want to say in the name of Jesus, I renounce witchcraft in Jesus' name. We come out of agreement with all witchcraft in Jesus' name. Freemasonry, black magic, sorcery. We don't want any part of it in Jesus' name. Get out in the name of Jesus, by the blood of Jesus.
We just want to put up front, anyone who is a Wiccan or anything like that, this
isn't for you.
This episode is not about you.
This is more like literary representations.
Yes, just pop culture, what witches are like, the history of witches, like, this has nothing to do with actual people who consider themselves witches right now.
Right.
Y'all are rad. It's the other people.
It's the other ones, and the ones that have been
It's the anti-witches that were...
Yeah, the anti-witches. And so, so let's get into it. I've got a little witch here that's going to join us on screen. And there she is. I don't know, is that racist? Because it's kind of stereotypical. Got the pointy hat.
It is. If anyone's offended by this.
If anyone's offended by this, I don't mean it. It's just that, I don't know what a
stock footage.
Right. I don't know what a 21st century witch looks like anymore, because
I wouldn't know.
Because
I'm
they're
sure we
just,
could look on TikTok or something.
I'm sure we could, yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah. So I was just going to kind of touch on just a brief history of witches in our pop culture. Now, I do know that the experts on witches don't really know when witches popped into pop culture or not, but they were really popular during the medieval times. Now, I do know that the Bible does mention witches back there, so we know, and it was Old Testament kind of stuff, so we know that there were stories of witches in the BC times.
But I feel like if any woman were outspoken or did what her husband did not want her to do, she was labeled a witch. So,
right.
Like, were these women actually practicing witchcraft, or were they just sassy?
Yeah. And, they actually, it seemed like in some of the more prehistoric stories, they were sought after for help. They were healers.
Yeah, healers.
And what they would consider potions or anything like that was probably just medicine.
Oh, for sure.
And that kind of thing. One story in the Old Testament describes how King Saul went and got the help of a witch so she could raise, I think it was Samuel's spirit, to help them win a war. And it really didn't speak about how bad it was. Apparently she did it.
Or apparently she had green skin and a little hat.
Little wart on the nose. Real big, long nose, too.
Cackled. Had a giant thing of brew.
The cauldron. Eye of newt.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So, but the hysteria around witches didn't really show up as written history until like the 1400s. And it was really between 1500 and 1660 that they started going after witches and executing and burning witches and whatnot. And it was this was a fact that when I read it, I had to write it down so I didn't forget it. During this time, 100, 150, 60 years, there were estimated 80,000 suspected witches put to death in Europe.
I say it all the time. I would not have made it in the way back days.
No, because you know what? They mainly targeted single women, widows, and those that had mental disorders that were kind of fringe, that didn't fit in with society. If you were a single woman or a widow, you've killed off your husband, and
or if your husband left you, then you're a witch
because
witch. Something happened to you.
A witch.
Like there's a reason.
Yeah, and but even here in America, I don't even really have to go into the Salem witch trials because we all learned about that.
Yeah.
But I was really also surprised to know that there were more witch hunts in the United States after that. I was reading. Let's see, where did I write that down? It was spurred on by a book called Malleus Maleficarum. That was like a German book. Now, Germany had the most executions, while Ireland had the least amount. And
because the Irish are cool with witches,
right? The Irish are fine with it. They invented the witch.
They're like cool.
You had all of the Celtic, Druid kind of thing. But whenever witch mania hit the United States, we, how many, it was like 150 people were accused at the Salem witch trials, and 18 were executed, including 6 men.
Yes.
And so, when it really started to die down...
What's his name? Was it Giles Corey that was, like, stoned to death or whatever, and was it him that was stoned to death? I can't remember which one.
I can't remember which one it was, because I didn't write down how each one was executed, but they came up with some creative ways.
Like... Why can't you use these powers for good?
Right.
Why are we, pulling the arms and legs off of people like they're flies?
Yeah.
We don't need to be doing that.
Well, even in Connecticut, there was another witch trial that, I wish my handwriting wasn't so bad. It's, so the Salem witch trial started when 2 girls were having... seizures and fits
Right.
and stuff like that. And so,
Like, they were probably just either misbehaving on purpose or epileptic. Like,
right. Well, what they think it was is there was a fungus in the food that was affecting young ladies. Because
probably.
more young girls started being affected the same way.
Yeah, because they had no way of refrigeration or,
Right,
you
and
know.
forensics years later says, well, this is poison.
Yeah.
So, so they started accusing local women of being in witchcraft, and one of the women they accused was a slave that was owned by one of the girls' fathers, and of course they said that she confessed, quote unquote, confessed, which basically means she was probably tortured.
Yeah, we're going to torture you
until you say it is. And so she started pointing out, oh, I've seen this with this person, I've seen this with this person.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever they just started rapid firing, doing all that. And they
it's really scary when you get like a group of people, like the mania that goes on with people where it's like, if it's one single person and you're like, hey, we think this slave girl's a witch. And they're like, no. But then you get like 30 people and you're like, she's a witch!
Yeah.
You know?
She's a witch. A witch.
Like, I mean, I don't think so, but like, I'm gonna look dumb if I don't say.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's a witch.
She's a witch. She's got to be.
Like, well, because if not, then they're gonna turn on you too, and then all of a sudden you're a witch.
And so, I'm spitting out my coffee everywhere. Like I said, Salem wasn't the only one. I read in Connecticut there were another 46 accused and 11 executed over there. We didn't even talk about that in school.
No.
So there was another 11 executed outside of the Salem witch trials. And then it started to die down in the U.S. whenever, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin wrote an op-ed.
Well, he was very, like, scientific. He was very, like...
He wrote about how silly it was that we were executing all these people. And
like, y'all know we killed people.
Yeah. And even into the 1700s, they were still trying witches. And so whenever, he came out with this op-ed and it started to die down after that, he wrote that in 1730, but not after, and I thought this was hilarious too. In 1706, Grace Shepherd was one of the accused, and it reminds me of, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. She was the one that was thrown into a lake, and if she sank, she wasn't a witch. But if she floated,
she's a witch.
Yeah, she was a witch. And so she floated because, we're full of air and water.
And because you don't want to drown.
And you don't want to drown. And so, but they bound her legs and arms so she couldn't swim.
You just hold your breath.
So, yeah, that's one of the first things I learned when I took swim class as a kid.
That's what they teach babies
They teach babies that.
In swim class, how to float.
Exactly. But, she was branded a witch. She wasn't executed, though. She spent 8 years in prison. Because she didn't want to die.
Because of course she did.
But yeah, and it's still happening in parts of the world.
The fact that, and then like satanic panic, like in the 90s.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other thing though.
That's a whole other thing, but that's what amazes me is that it still happened then, like, and people were smart enough to know that, like, remember with like the daycares that were like, oh, they're making these kids do witchcraft.
Yeah.
I'm like, they went to trial. People went to jail.
Yeah.
Because these kids are like, I don't know, I floated up in the world and then my teacher made me eat a newt.
Yeah.
And you're like, she's a witch.
She's a witch. She's got to be a witch.
Like, not that this 4-year-old maybe has a crazy imagination.
Well, like the pastor Greg Locke, he was also the one that did the book burning.
Yeah.
And had the bonfire. And they were burning like Disney stuff.
Anything he says is pretty much null and void.
Anything he says is null and void. It's a cult. It's another cult that he's got.
The West Memphis 3, those kids went to prison because, like, they like to wear black.
And they listen to heavy metal.
They're probably Satan worshippers.
They are.
They're witches.
They're witches. They dyed their hair black.
They definitely did this.
They definitely did this.
There's no evidence, but they definitely did it.
You know, I haven't read anything. They were released, weren't they, finally?
Yeah, they got off on an Alford plea, and so they're trying to...
Yeah.
Damien and his wife are, like, heading, like, they're spearheading trying to get it off the record completely, and there's all this evidence that needs to be tested, but the state is like, no, we're not testing that.
Yeah, because you guys took the Alford.
Y'all took an Alford plea, so it doesn't matter.
And that's
like, it does matter because 3 little boys died.
Yeah.
And you have evidence, and we have the technology to test it, so... But like,
they won't.
You were witches,
so...
Wrong.
You were witches.
You got off lucky. We tortured you for years, but now you're out, so...
And, when I was growing up, though... witches were glamorized. I mean,
I mean, yeah, like, I would sit around watching Nick at Night as a kid. There was, like, Bewitched. There was,
Yeah.
Witches were cool.
Well, and witches seem to, it seems like, after reading kind of the history of it, that when the Wizard of Oz came out.
The Wizard of Oz was a big deal, and that's the first thing on my notes as far as, like how they've been portrayed in media and stuff like that. Because Wizard of Oz was the first time I remember there being a good witch and bad witch. Mm-hmm. Because you'd heard so much about bad witches.
That's what, I was going to say that, is that suddenly, there's good witches too?
Suddenly there's Glinda floating in on a bubble, and she's wearing all pink, and like...
Yeah.
She talks like this, and everyone's so happy, and everyone's so glad to see her, and,
And all the little munchkins loved her.
That was the first time I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There could be good witches?
There could be good witches.
Because how do I sign up for that?
Yeah. I kind of want to be a medium witch, though. Like, I'll help you out, but don't...
I want to be a just witch.
I want to be a just fair...
A just and fair witch. Like...
But yeah, and I was also reading that there's still like witch trials going on to this day. Like, for example, in Papua New Guinea since 2010, there's been numerous beatings and killings, including like one young mother that was burned to death because she was accused of being a witch.
Like, can we just have a moratorium on setting people on fire? I feel like we just don't need to be doing that anymore.
Well, where's the free and fair trials too?
No.
There's no, they just decide you're a witch because,
I mean, let's be real, those have never really been a thing.
Right. Yeah, that's true too. But yeah, growing up though, we grew up with all the greats. I mean, you wrote some of them down.
I mean, so Bewitched was a good one that I really liked when I was a kid. Yeah, but she had to keep her powers like a secret. And like, she was a cute witch because she was blonde, she was pretty. Her power, she wiggled her nose and and then she could like make things happen.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big... But I feel like that was like a first real try at trying to like show like the more human side of witches.
Yeah.
Because, like, she was married, she lived in the suburbs, she had a husband, she had kids, like, like, she tried, like, being a witch was just part of who she was. It wasn't, like, all of her personality. She wasn't some, like, crazy woman in the woods with, like, wild hair, eating dirt, like,
right.
Like, she was an actual human being who,
Right.
And, I mean...
Yeah.
The next one.
Which one?
Teen Witch.
Teen Witch! I loved that movie, but
I made boyfriend watch it last night.
Did you really?
He had never seen it because he's a boy, so he had never really seen it. He didn't grow up watching that. Oh, man.
Oh, what did he think?
He was like, what is this?
It's horrible.
It's horrible.
It's so bad it's good,
to watch it. And for whatever reason, it's always like, witches aren't like... They're born with it, but they don't, like, come into it until they're, like, 16. I don't know what it's about. Why are we giving powers to 16-year-olds? Because they're not emotionally
I think it has to do something with, like, puberty or something like that. Because even, like, Harry Potter was, about to hit that age. He was, like, what, 11 or 12 or something like that?
Which, again, why are we giving kids that much power? That's too young.
That's way too young. But I guess
Harry Potter couldn't drive a car, but we're gonna give him a wand and let him go ape shit. Like,
let him go fight.
Yeah,
some snake lizard. Person wizard.
I know Harry Potters.
I know Harry Potter. Fine. Actually, I love Harry Potter.
The Witches of Eastwick, which I was not on my list, but it's like one of my favorite ones. Like, that was a good one too.
Yeah,
like, I really loved. And then that one had so Jack Nicholson was also
sexy. Jack Nicholson.
Sexy Jack Nicholson was a warlock, which was like or he was the devil.
And who were the witches? It was Cher,
Susan Sarandon, and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer, that's the one I wasn't thinking of. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that
and they just wished for a man, and then poof, there's their man.
Yeah.
He was the devil.
Yeah.
But, which just proves, don't wish for a man.
No. It's like whenever you rub the genie lamp and it comes out and it's like, oh, I wish I was beautiful, but you're like beautiful on Mars because you're the only person there.
Or you're beautiful, but we're going to sew your butthole closed. Right. This isn't what I wanted at all.
You're beautiful, but like for a giraffe.
Yes. You're beautiful, but you also have a nose.
So yeah, you got to learn all the caveats of.
You have to be very
magic,
very specific.
Very specific.
Yeah, Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. That's a classic that you can watch any time of the year too.
This stems too from so witches apparently hated children and wanted to eat them, and that's what keeps them young. And
So they're Democrats, huh?
And a lot of vindictive. Hillary, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
And they're really like vindictive, and they're very much about like they hate men, and they're a bunch of man hating.
Yet they move into candy houses. What's that all about?
Like, you'd figure if you ate adults, you'd get more power because they're bigger. Like, why do you eat children?
But have you ever had like an
Virgins.
overripe? That's true.
They're eating virgins.
And have you ever had like an overripe banana? It's just
Or a piece of old steak.
Yeah. How old of a steak have you?
Veal apparently is supposed to be more tender.
I can't eat veal.
I don't want to do it.
I can't do it either. That's the same way I can't do lamb.
I'd be the same way if I were eating people. I'm like, I don't want to eat a young person.
Right.
Look at that grandpa over there.
Oh, but that would be so tough.
And now it's on the internet that I want to eat a grandpa. Whoops.
That's all right. That's okay. We'll start
Do you remember Warlock? Did you ever see Warlock?
I did. It's been so long since I've seen it, but it's one of those cheesy...
Dude, I had to read about it because I remember watching it at slumber. We watched it at slumber. It was a staple at slumber parties, like Candyman, Hellraiser, and Warlock. We would watch those all the time.
Yeah.
And apparently he was a 17th century man witch. I typed manwich.
A manwich. Delicious.
It's a meal. It's not just a sandwich.
Sloppy Joes.
He became captured by a witch hunter, and then he flung himself into the 1980s and to bring about the end of the world. And I said, P.S. If the world ends, bro, where are you going to do your magic?
Right.
They're always about ending the world.
Yeah.
Then what are you going to do?
Well,
what's going to happen to you if the world
doing
ends?
magic in a vacuum.
Yeah. Out in the ether. Just like in space, just hanging out. Another two of my favorites were American Horror Story Coven. That was my favorite fucking season of American Horror Story. Those witches were awesome. I mean, in what world can any, like, rando TV show just call Stevie Nicks and say, hey, I want you to come on here? And this is where I would really much like to ask you to do your Stevie Nicks impression, but I'm not going to.
You don't want me to do my Stevie Nicks impression?
I mean, if I'm going to talk about man witches and eating old men,
I'll save that impression for another
But like podcast. That was a time too when like you see that like different witches have different powers, like and in that season specifically, like Angela Bassett, like, you know, she was descended from slaves, and so it was more like a voodoo kind of magic as opposed to like white people magic. Like
white people want it easy, like you just want to snap your fingers and then a fireball shoots out.
Yes,
like, you know, some of those more indigenous witchcraft things, you know, always requires, you know, list of ingredients and
yes, and then like some of them really like wanted to be witches, and some of them did not want to be witches. It was just kind of a power that they were stuck with or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just wrote Stevie Nicks, y'all. Sarah Paulson is an icon.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with witches. Sarah Paulson can just get it because I love her so much. And then I watched a couple seasons of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I didn't watch the whole series, but she's another one where she's like half witch and half human. So
yeah. Now, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, didn't that come from the Archie comics?
The Archie comics, and then I refuse to acknowledge the one with Melissa Joan Hart. Because that's dumb.
Like you just did.
I'm not going to talk about it.
I actually watched several episodes of that. It wasn't one of my favorites, but when there was nothing on TV.
Well, we've been together for 20 years, and we're going to make this work. We're going
to get through this together. It was bad, though. I mean, the talking cat.
Yeah. And when it first came out that they were going to do like a gothic version of this, I was thinking, because I had seen a little bit of Riverdale, which is like the Archie comics. Right, I'd seen a little bit of that. I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I started watching it, and I was like, so help me God, that fucking cat talks.
And it does.
No, that cat does not talk.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it doesn't talk.
Oh, I didn't watch any of it.
It's just like, and they're like, I know, right? Like, they're talking to the cat.
Yeah.
Like, they can understand it, but you don't, it's not like it has...
Cat knows American Sign Language.
Yes. Apparently, every witch also speaks cat.
Right. Well, it's a familiar.
It's a familiar.
So, yeah, you can always talk to your familiars.
You can.
I have several familiars in the house that I'm sure understand every word I say. So
Harley does for sure.
There were also other TV shows because you had things like Charmed. What was another one? I was thinking of. I didn't watch Charmed either.
There was a witch on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Willow.
Buffy, yeah.
Hello. The queen of all witches. I loved her. But she wasn't born with the power. She became a witch. Like, she, like, studied and learned the art of witchcraftery. And to me, that's cooler because, like, she's not like Maybelline. Like, maybe she's born with it. Like, no, she was not born with it. She, like, actually had to study to become a witch. Like,
yeah. And, there were some great movies that were my favorites for a long time. Like, the original The Witches by Roald Dahl.
Oh.
With Angelica
Houston.
Angelica Houston.
Again, iconic Angelica Houston with that dress.
I never even saw the
over.
remake, the 2020.
No.
I never watched it because you can't take her out of
that. No,
exactly,
don't even look at me.
Exactly. But yeah, oh my gosh, she's the queen.
When she's like witches.
Yep.
Of England. Fuck yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a disgrace.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Oh, I love her. She was the perfect Morticia
I
Addams.
loved that movie, and I remember being, as a kid, like, I would rent it from we didn't even have a movie place membership. We got it from the library.
Yeah.
We'd go to the library and get it. And I remember being terrified, but also I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah.
Like, she was scary, but then the rest of the movie is about, like, a mouse. So, like...
Oh, my gosh. And also, it was about the time that we discovered that I needed glasses to see, and my mom was like, if you want to try contacts, we can try it. And I begged her for the violet contacts.
Yeah.
I wore these stupid witchy purple... I was all 12, 13 years old, all blink, blink, blink.
With your big curly
with
hair,
my big
looking like
curly
a witch.
hair, looking like I mean, I was one.
Yeah.
I was always one of the kids that wanted to be the Wicked Witch. Always wanted to, because everything around us at the time was good witches, and so when the bad witches were, on screen,
The Craft, dude. I didn't even write down The Craft.
The Craft. I haven't seen that one in so long. I'm gonna have to sit down and watch all these again.
Embarrassing story. Sam, I don't know if you're hearing this. Probably not. She was my best friend in high school. So that movie came out. I think I was in middle school when that movie came out. We went to North Hills Mall to see that movie.
Yeah.
And there was a Walden Books there.
Yeah.
And we bought a book of spells. And we were sitting outside the mall waiting for our moms to come pick us up. Like, we're like, so we're totally going to do these spells, right? Like, we're going to be witches. Like, we would, like, call the Four Corners all the time. And we're like, we're totally going to be witches. I'm going to buy a choker. Like,
Yeah.
like, all you need is the right accessories, and I'm going to be a witch. But that movie was like, Firuza Balk, she is another good witch. Like, she was...
Is it her that actually does practice Wicca? I thought I had read that at one point, but don't quote me on that.
She was also in The Littlest Witch or whatever, or The Worst Witch. Was it The Worst Witch? Do you remember that one? It was from like way back in the day when we were little. It was Firuza Balk as a kid, going to like a witch academy, and Tim Curry was the
that
like
sounds
master
really familiar.
It sounds like a fever dream. I promise you guys it's not. It's an actual thing. And so he's like the kids all have to do these, like, kind of like Harry Potter. Like, they have to do these different classes and learn how to be witches. And she was the worst witch. She wasn't good at being a witch.
She wasn't good at it.
No.
She was
It
also...
was a kids movie.
Yeah, she was also in, as a kid, she was in Wizard of Oz, Return to Oz. And
man, that movie fucked me up.
That movie was... I had some nightmares
The Wheelers?
for
Are
years.
you kidding me?
Taking her head
Mommy
off.
taking her head off, and she was a witch, and there was a lot of other heads, and she'd just like pop her fucking head off like a Lego, and put a new head on.
And then whenever she's going through the hall with all of them,
and all the heads are looking at her.
They're all looking at her.
They're all,
oh my gosh! Yeah, bad witch, witch.
Nope.
But yeah, so. Even today, though, like I had pointed out with the Greg Locke stuff, that's the witch that they gravitate toward, is the one that does all of the evil. And today, I haven't met a whole lot of people who practice Wicca, but their main...
It's more about, like, nature and connecting to nature and
doing good.
Yes.
Their mottos are like, do no evil.
Do no evil. You're, like, saging the place to, like, get all the good energy going and all that kind of stuff. It's not about, like...
Yeah.
I've never met a Wiccan who had, like, Eye of Newt and...
Right.
The testicles of an old lamb or something. Like,
Right.
Or I didn't see it.
Yeah. And it's basically just, like, trying to collect on the, positive energy and manifest it in a certain way.
Right. You're just, like, putting good vibes out.
So where do we find the evil witches? Because I kind of want in on that, too.
I don't know. Are they in, like, caves or...
I guess we're just going to have to go spelunking.
I don't want to go spelunking like that.
Now, did you ever see the movie The Witch? From a few years back. It had, what's her name from the Queen's Gambit? The Witch. Oh, what is her name?
I don't remember if I saw
Anya Taylor-Joy, is that her name?
No, I never saw that one.
It's boring as hell.
That's not for me.
It's, okay, I'm going to go through some spoilers. So if you guys haven't seen The Witch yet and you want to, this is the point where you want to fast forward.
Skip fast a minute.
Just a little bit. But, basically, it's like the Puritan pilgrim age and everything like that. And there's a suspected witch in the woods, and they're attacking this family, and their baby is stolen, and it's violent. And then, like, the best scene in the movie starts out in the beginning.
And it's just downhill.
And then it just gets more boring and more boring. I had a friend that was like, you have to see this movie. You have to see this movie. And I had to take it in two parts. Nothing really happens. She can talk to, like, a goat, which is very demonically symbol.
Okay, I can talk to a goat. Do I understand
what's happening? The goat supposedly talked back. And then you start to wonder, like, in the movie, is it a mental health issue? And it was really boring. It's like trying to, I don't know. It's like being forced to read The Crucible again, or something like that. It's just everything.
The Crucible is a good story.
No, it's a great story.
It was not told the right way.
Right. Well, I mean, it was written so long ago, and it's the same way. The dialogue is off and everything. It's not.
So have you ever been to Salem? Have you ever been to Salem?
No, and I want to go on Halloween one time.
So I went, but I was in high school, so it's been
a while.
900 years. I'm pretty sure it's still there. I don't know.
Salem, I think it's still there.
Shout out if you're from Salem. But it's real kitschy and real, like, they really lean into it. It's real fun. Like, they have a bunch of cool, like, there's, like, the Witchcraft Museum or, like,
Right.
And the place that I went to, and again, I don't know if it's still there. Like, you guys let me know. You, like, walk through this, and it had, like, you could watch, like, an animatronic witch trial.
Is it a good one, or is it...
Oh, no. Oh no! It's like, she's a witch, and the person's like, ah, and then you can walk down into the dungeons where they have, like, the witches, like, all in all the cells and stuff like that, and they're like, no.
Can you actually visit any of the locations where, like, the trials happened or the executions or anything?
I mean, ours was a school tour, so probably not.
It was a school tour,
but. If you were to actually go, there probably would be, like, a crap ton of cool stuff that you could see. But we didn't see.
Yeah.
We were just
apparently they really do it up for Halloween there too.
I want to go so bad.
And I want to do it one of these days. I'm going to do it because you know how we are about Halloween.
We are Halloween people.
I love Halloween.
Yep.
But yeah, one of these days I want to check it out.
It'll be so fun.
Yeah. You
could stay in, like, a spooky little hotel and
right. They've got to have something haunted
shit.
Yeah,
they've got to. The whole town's haunted.
They executed
people for no reason. Yeah, it's all haunted.
And the way that they would execute it too, they were, like I said earlier, they were so creative. Like, we're going to crush this one with rocks. We're going to throw this one in a river.
We're going to hang this one, and then we're going to burn this one with a stake.
And if you can get yourself out, you're a witch. But if you're not, sorry.
Right. You'll go to
heaven. My bad.
You'll go to heaven if you die.
You'll go to heaven.
Because you won't be a witch. So you're welcome.
Got you that one-way ticket. But,
I wonder if any of them afterwards, because it was all men, like, afterwards, if any of those guys were like, oh, man, I don't think she was a witch.
Oh, she wasn't a witch. But even men were accused of it. I think that 6 were accused in the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, but I think most of them were husbands of other people that were being accused of witchcraft, and it was like, I don't think my wife's a witch. Witch! He's a witch!
He's a witch.
They're in it together.
More witches. I guess we're just going to have to get more firewood.
Burn the whole town down.
Burn the whole town. Yeah.
This is crazy.
And then, like in what I mentioned before, the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, whenever they're arguing over, how do we tell she's a witch? Well, if she floats, she's made of wood, and wood is witches, and then they actually did that stuff, though.
They could connect so many dots that are not there.
Right. Well, let's go back to the Pastor Greglock that we opened with, and the reason he was calling out witches in his congregation was because he was having an argument with another couple a couple of couples that was wanting to be more involved in the church. I think the husband of this couple was his personal, like, trainer, like weightlifting and stuff, and then his wife was getting more and more involved with, like, Bible study, women's studies, and stuff like that. And because people were flocking more to that couple instead of him and his wife, that's when he started accusing them of witchcraft.
I want to be the most popular one.
Yeah, and I even heard at one point that that she had gifts for like a dinner party, and it was like a soup in a jar or something. You know those things where they put dried beans and spices, and he was saying that
I don't want your cauldron of beans.
They were witch spices and all that. And she was, and if you
We're white people, we don't season our food.
Yeah, and if you got sick, it was because they put a curse on you and all this other stuff, and it's.
But you know what's funny is they do this stuff with, like you said, like their congregation, and I am 90% sure, 99% sure it is white people.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's
like when Boyfriend and I were in New Orleans, there were like all these like voodoo shops, like places you could go into. Yeah. You don't fuck with that. Like, you don't go in, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you're not accusing a black woman of being a witch. You're just not. Like, you're not, You can accuse a white girl of doing it. You're not going to, like, there's something, like, for whatever reason, like, there's something holy and sacred about the voodoo community. You don't fuck with it.
No.
You're not accusing people of that. You're not talking bad about it.
Yeah.
That's fine over there.
Right.
This white girl that got me a can of beans, you're a witch.
Yeah. Which is funny because they also, you know, in a lot of Hispanic communities and things like they still practice
the brujas, yeah,
that in Santeria,
yeah.
And
again, you don't mess with that.
You don't mess with that. But a lot of those have Catholic origins too. A lot of those different. So you know, sometimes it's okay.
So hot take: Catholics are witches.
Ooh,
no,
Catholics are witches. Catholics.
I'm joking.
Yeah. Let's clear that up. No. Where was I going with that? Oh, you remember that dude? Speaking of Santeria, that guy that hit on me at the bar.
Yeah.
And I'm there with my husband.
Every time I hear that song.
Every time I hear the song Santeria.
By Sublime.
Sublime.
That song rocks.
I gotta tell this story. In the early days of my marriage, my husband and I used to frequent a bar called the Shamrock Pub that close to downtown. And one night we were sitting at the bar, we're talking to our friend who's the bartender, and this guy just keeps coming up to me, drunk off his ass. I guess he'd have to be if he's hitting on me, but and so he kept asking to buy me a drink, and I was like, no, I'm here with my husband. My husband's buying my drinks for me, thank you. And so after I had rejected him a couple of times, he would wait until my husband went to the bathroom.
Right.
And then he'd come up and like start, you know, like a buzzard.
Why do all of our podcasts come around to if a woman is not interested?
If she's not interested,
walk away.
I had to get my friend, the bartender, involved, and he kicked him out finally. Because at one point, the guy walks up, and he's so mad at me because the drink that he did buy for me, I gave to my husband.
Yeah.
And, of course, my husband was drinking. And then he comes up, and Santeria comes up on the jukebox.
Right, he plays Santeria for you.
And he comes up, and he's like, I played this song for you. And I'm like, isn't that about voodoo?
Yeah.
And he was like,
some dude shooting another dude with a gun? Like, is this romantic?
And I wanted to tell him, I don't practice Santeria, and I ain't got no crystal ball.
Exactly.
But no, I was like, he didn't play it for me. It came on the jukebox.
And even if he did,
why that one?
Why?
No,
you're telling me
there's
there's not 900 stupid rock love songs on that?
Exactly.
Not
I guess he thought I was a witch.
Not a sensible pour some sugar on me.
Right. Sweet Child of Mine.
Rock of Ages.
Yeah, any of it.
Anything by Def Leppard is good.
Oh yeah, we've covered that before. But yeah, I guess he thought I was a witch.
Well, you're just a cock tease, Courtney. Just sitting at the bar with your husband.
Sitting there doing my incantations.
So I don't know how you felt about it, but when we watched that movie, was it last weekend or weekend before?
Hey, my buddy here, Hendrix, came to visit us.
He's our familiar.
This is my familiar. If you can see him on the video. Oh, he's gonna go.
The movie we watched a couple weekends ago with with Susan Lucci. Were they aliens or was she a witch?
I don't know.
I could go either way. And usually I know the difference between an alien and a witch.
Yeah. What was that called? What was that movie called that we watched?
I don't know. Craig? I don't know.
Yeah, I need to look that up. Where's my phone? I'm going to look that up.
One
really
moment.
quick. One moment. Yeah. Well, let me give you a rundown of this movie we saw. Who else was in it?
Okay, so this movie starred
Robert
Urich,
yeah.
Susan Lucci of All My Children fame or whatever she was on.
Right.
Punky Brewster and Bastian from The Neverending Story.
Yeah, it had like a cast that people had
In
been
the
in
80s,
stuff.
that would have been a top-notch cast.
Right.
Robert Urich, I know his face, but I don't know what else he's been in. He's been in other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, he was in everything in the 80s.
He was anytime they needed like a one of these guys, they put him in there.
But this movie
It's insane.
So there's a family that moves
to
a new town
for the husband to work at, what was it, like?
It was some biotech.
Gynotech or...
Gynotech.
They're turning vaginas into robots.
Invitation to Hell.
Invitation to Hell.
Invitation to Hell. Okay, so I guess she had to be a witch or a demon or something. But they moved to the city, or this town.
And it was the health club.
And yeah, there was a health club that you could only get into through invite only.
Susan Lucci wants you to join her health club.
She wanted them to join.
You gotta put on the white robe.
Yeah.
And you stand in front of that door with the smoke and the lights.
There's smoke. Anytime that there's smoke coming out of a spa, you generally don't want to go in, but, go on with yourself.
I'll go in a spa, but, I don't want to have to...
The steam room is everywhere.
I don't want to join Satan to have to be able to go into the
Or
sauna.
Susan Lucci.
Or Susan Lucci. Although we looked up pictures, she's still looking.
She's still a smoke
She's still a dime piece.
She does, yeah. She does really well for herself. But yeah, so
Which
she talks.
just proves she's probably a witch.
Right. She's got to deal with the devil.
Yep.
But she invites his family into it, and then possesses.
Everyone but the husband.
Everybody but the husband. And then they get out.
They're like, join us. You should join us.
Join us.
Just
like a whole body
health
snatcher
club.
situation. Like the kids start acting weird.
It's very like Stepford Wives. Very like...
Yeah.
It's got that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah. But it was bad. Was it a made-for-TV movie that we just stumbled onto? Because it didn't
made for drunk people in Texas, which is what we were.
Yeah. And full of pizza.
Full of pizza.
We watched another one that night. Which one did we watch too?
It was fucking stupid.
Oh, I can't remember. It was the one that took place in Ireland.
The one in Ireland with the
and they.
It was the dad. It was the Jack's gay Jack's dad from Dawson's Creek. That was the guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name, but he was the main character.
He's passed now, so rest in peace, Gay Jack's dad. But
Gay Jack's dad.
But he had black hair or dark hair, so it was way back in the day because he had gray hair. So like it was a long time ago.
Yeah. And they find a ruin or something, or some sort of monolith.
Yes, and the weird.
And awakened a demon.
Awakened a demon with they touched the.
Yeah,
the church. They touched that thing in the church.
Yeah, the altar was always hot.
Yes. And then the demon came.
Yeah, and then the demon came, and then that one was another bad one. But the church was full of witches.
The church was full of witches,
warlocks.
You know what? This is why I don't go to church.
We've proven it. There's witches everywhere in church.
Because either I'm a witch or I'm trying to avoid touching the altar.
So I wish I could remember which movie that was. We might have to cover that one. We're
gonna do another. Okay, so I was thinking about this, you guys. Now that it's almost like spooky season, we're gonna have to do a part 2 of shitty horror movies.
Yeah. We gotta do
a part 3.
We gotta do.
We're gonna shove that stuff so far down y'all's throats. Like
we might even do a watch along or something like that too, so that way we can play you the clips that we're laughing at the most.
We need to do one.
Yeah. Do a good review of it so that you guys can react along with us to the scenes. But yeah, what more can you say about witches? We know that throughout time, witches...
Women were just getting the bad end of the stick.
We still are.
Like, I would not be surprised tomorrow if I was, like, upset about being in a long line and someone called me a witch. Like,
I've been called much worse, so
Yes.
I think Witch would be like, you really think so?
You really think so? Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh, thank you.
Just hop on my broom and I'm out of here. Fuck you guys.
Well,
Fuck you, DMV.
I've gone digital, so I'm on a vacuum. Just
Oh, there you go. Like a Roomba. It's like self-driving.
just standing there on a Roomba,
Keeps running to the wall.
and having to turn it around.
You have like a joystick on it where you can like.
You end up putting handles on your Roomba.
You're mechanically inclined. You can figure it out.
Little bicycle bell, so it's all bling, bling, bling.
Press
Move
it.
Hang on, I missed a spot.
Courtney, can you give me a beer? Sure.
My Roomba is my familiar.
Yes, my precious.
But yeah, we're coming up on Halloween season, so we're gonna have to come up real.
We're gonna come up with some fun stuff for you guys for sure because
Yeah.
that is our favorite. Together,
I
it is our
love-
favorite season.
Yeah, screw Christmas and all those. I
Christmas
love
is
Halloween.
expensive, and
I don't know. Halloween's pretty expensive for me.
for you
Because
guys, yes,
we do a big Halloween party. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do one this year because we're still rebounding off of all the pandemic brokeness. So
We could do something more low key though. Like
We could do something more low key.
like invite people over for like shitty movie night and have it be like a potluck thing where like people
Yeah,
come
we could
and
do
we'll
something
watch,
like that.
shitty movies.
But we'd still
and-
have to be in costume. That's one of my favorite parts.
yeah,
is-
costumed shitty movie night where you have to come dressed as a shitty movie character.
But
I
that's
call-
kind of what Halloween
I
does.
call Susan Lucci.
Susan Lucci.
Just shoulder pads for days and the teased hair.
I'm gonna be Jack Nicholson from
From Witches of the East with the big furry feet. Spitting out, what is it, cherry pits?
Yeah.
Those cherry seeds? Well, then that would make Preston can be Cher, Susan
He's got
Sarandon,
great-
or...
Yeah. Good couples costume.
Yeah, or you know what? You could be Jack Nicholson, and then the three of us will be the witches.
There we go. That would work.
Preston has dark hair, so he would be Cher. I have red hair, so I'd be Susan Sarandon. That means Craig would be Michelle Pfeiffer.
I guess I'm just yeah.
There, got it, done. It's a
How
done
am I
deal.
gonna pull off Jack Nicholson? I'm gonna have to think about this one. I think I could do it.
We just slick your hair back into a
Slick
ponytail, but
my
just
hair.
have like wild hairs. That's what
Do
my
the
sister.
sunglasses.
I don't know if my sister's listening to this, but that's what we call like when you have your hair up in a bun or something, and like all your wild baby hairs go crazy.
Yeah.
She calls them her Jack Nicholsons.
Oh,
because
really?
you know in every movie
I've
his
got
hair
a
goes
lot
nuts,
of those.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's always got those like wild hairs when he goes off and gets crazy.
Right,
We
right.
call it, like Ashley.
See, I could do that.
Ashley or Jack Nicholson's are showing.
Call
So
that
she's
my
just
morning
like,
look.
like slicking them down. Yeah. Yeah. So
Well, we got anything else for him today?
I don't know. I think that covers it. I
I think
think.
that covers it.
Yeah.
It's,
So
it's fun. So if
we hope you guys enjoyed our new intro that Courtney, my amazing co-host, has created for us. It's so rad. I loved it so much.
hopefully everything turns out right when I edit all this together, but
Putting you on the spot now. You're just cut this shit out if it
just
doesn't
say,
work.
I got a new computer, I got some new microphones and cables and all that kind of stuff.
This was her
so-
birthday present, you guys, so she did this for you.
Yeah, I did. I
So-
spent my birthday money on this cool little tablecloth
Isn't this
and
cute, you guys?
and these little fuzzy things for our microphones.
So the least you could do is tell your friends.
Just tell your friends.
Subscribe, comment, send us emails, all that good stuff.
Tell us what your favorite depictions of witches are, whether it be in media or
And again, what are your movie recommendations? Because I want to know what y'all's really crappy movie recommendations are.
yeah, like trying to introduce us to something that we haven't seen. 'Cause I am
Please, we would love
always-
that. Whatever crappy movie that you love.
Yeah, because we end up like scrolling for 30, 40 minutes
Yeah.
before we can ever decide on
It's a
something.
long time.
Because you don't want to actually stumble into something good.
No, I don't want to watch a good one.
No. It's got to be a bad one, like a so bad that it actually turns out being good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Something like that.
So yeah. I guess that's it for this week.
We'll talk to you guys next time.
We'll talk to you guys
Bye.
next time. Love you.
Let me talk.